Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sarel van Grennen, aka Mr. VG, and we are now getting to how do they ask exponents in the exam? Kind of mixing and matching and throwing everything together in one beautiful, really weird kind of sums. This is not easy. I'm going to be honest with you. When we get to question 5 and 6, question 4, 5, and especially question 6, it is going to take some thinking on your behalf. So what I want you to do is first hit the pause button and try these 6 sums yourself. Now, once you've done this, and I hope you've done this now by your own, let's work through this step by step by step. So I'm going to work through question 1, 2, and 3, which are 3 sums that are very similar to one another. But every time there's a slight difference in the sum. So when I look at question 1, it says that 2x raised to the 3 divided by 4x raised to the 2. So remember that 3 only counts for the x, not for the 2. What can we do with the 2 and the 4? Well, I can divide both the denominator and the numerator by 2, leaving me with a half. Can I apply law 1 with the x's? Yes. So I can subtract the exponents because I am dividing them. Next up, let's just simplify. X to the power of 3 minus 2 is 1, but I can just write that as a half x. Now what about question 2? All of a sudden, that power of 3, that exponent of 3, counts for both the 2 and the x. So I've got to have 1s at my exponents because I want to apply law 4. Law 4 says I can distribute that 3 in, and this gives me 2 to the power of 1 times 3, x to the 1 times 3, all over the denominator 4x squared. So in the numerator, I can now go and say 2 to the power of 3 is 8, and x to the power of 3 is just x to the 3. But now I can divide both the numerator and the denominator by 4, and I can apply the second law by the x's, and I'm left with 2x to the power of 1, or just 2x. That was actually not that bad. Now let's go and look at question 3. Question 3, now the cube is by the 2, not by the x. So in other words, I'm going to say this is the same as 8x over 4x squared. Now if you want to go and apply this, directly, ladies and gentlemen, you can go and say 8 divided by 4 is 2, and then to have that 1 there, I can go and apply the second law, which says it becomes x to the 1 minus 2. Now, if you haven't done integers, this will freak you out completely. Because how do I subtract 2 from 1? Now, there is a way, of course, once you've done integers, you can actually just go that is 2 to the x minus 1. But if you haven't done integers, this will freak you out. So let's go back to the definition. I'm going to divide both numerator and denominator by 4. And instead of applying the law, remember, I can just go back to the definition. So I'm going to write out the x squared as x times x. And I'm going to divide the x's away. This leaves me with 2 over x. And interestingly enough, ladies and gentlemen, those are exactly the same. But we don't do negative exponents in grade 8 at all. We only do positive exponents. That is why I would advise you to possibly rather do that method when your denominator's exponent is bigger. But ladies and gentlemen, if you are fine with integers, then go for this method. No worries at all. Let's have a look now when life becomes a bit more interesting. What if I look at question 4? Now I cannot apply the first law there because of the brackets. I first want to get rid of the brackets. So I'm going to distribute that 3 into the exponents. So this becomes 2 to the power of 2 times 3 times by x to the 3 times 3, which is the same as saying 2 to the 6 times by x to the 9. You may skip that step if you feel like this is too much writing out. But I like to put it in, especially at the beginning while I'm still getting used to the exponential laws. Next up, I can now go and rearrange and just put the 2's together, put the x's together, introduce my 1's into the exponent so I can apply the first law by the 2's, the same as by the x's. So this is going to give me 2 to the 7 multiplied by x to the 10. Now, ladies and gents, you can leave it like that. But you can also go and be a clever cookie and say this is 128 x to the power of 10. Okay? Either or will be marked right in the exam, unless your teacher states otherwise. If your teacher states in exponential form, you would leave it like that. Wow. Let's go and try question 5. Again, if you haven't tried it or you struggled with it, go and try this one now yourself before you move on to the rest of the sum. First of all, I'm going to distribute that 2 into the exponent. So the 3 doesn't have an exponent, so I must put in a 1 there. Once I've done this, I can simply say, well, 1 times 2 is 2 and 2 times 2 is 4. Bringing in the x to the 1, I'm first of all going to now determine the value of 3 to the power of 2, which is 9. Divide both numerator and denominator with 9 and applying the second law there by the x's. There we go. That gives me then 1x to the 3 or just x raised to the power of 3. Last but definitely not least is question 6. Oh my hat! I'm going to try and work through this as quickly as possible, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let's write out what remains the same. After writing that down, I can now go and look at those brackets that I need to get rid of. When I look at those brackets, I'm going to now say, let's distribute that 3 into the exponents. So 3 times by 1 and 3 times by 2. Then I'm going to do the same with that a at the bottom. I'm going to multiply those 2's with each other. This gives me at the top 2 to the 3, a to the 6, and at the bottom it gives me a to the 4. What would be my next step now? Looking at this, I would simply go and multiply my numbers at the top, put my a's together and my b's. Same at the bottom. What is my next steps? Come on, tell me. I'm going to calculate the values with the numbers. 3 times by 8 is 24, and at the bottom I've got 6. In the numerator, I've got 8 to the 6 plus 1, and then the b squared is just b squared. In the denominator, I have a to the 4 times b. The 6 plus 1 I can write as 7. And last but not least, I'm going to simplify that even further. So I'm going to calculate, first of all, the numbers, the 24 and the 6. I'm going to apply the second law with the a's, then with the b's, and my final answer is 4, a to the 3 times pi b. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is as simple and as easy as this. Now, I'm saying this is simple and easy, but this sum is a proper exam type question. And I would love it, if you can also apply this yourself. You need to go and practice. So go and download from the juniortikkie.online website the exam worksheet and the memo, and just go for it. Practice as much as you can. This is Mr. VG signing out. Keep well. Cheers.